out there?
I'm good. So just let me know if the tape's rolling. Yeah, man, it's first time.
Agent, right? Where's she at? She ain't on it yet?
Not yet.
I'm talking to her.
I don't know who's hotter, you or me.
I'm hot, man. I got air conditioner going, but that thing ain't enough in here right now. This thing is overload.
I got it, man. You know, this heat wave on the East Coast, you know how it is.
Yeah, man. But we can't be shining, so that's a beautiful thing.
Real talk, man. I appreciate you guys doing this, man. I wanted to talk to you for a long second, man. I went to school with Aja. Oh, there she is.
Oh, yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, I've been an admirer of the work, man. I see it all. I've seen it for ever since.
Well, we moving towards stage 2 now. So hopefully we got even more interesting stuff. And we looking at
I said God willing for sure.
Nah, true indeed.
All right, here we go.
Here's Aja with the off the shoulder doing flash dance. All right. All right. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it in the least.
This is black girl comfort. This is how we do this thing. This is how we get through the heat wave, my brother.
All right.
You look at flash dancing there because that's how I feel in that house. Sweat box up there. That's
baby.
Sweat box.
And you know I have my fans situated in such a way, my brother. But see, you ought to love me more than that since you're sitting in the air conditioning. Lord.
Let down your bun, girl. Let down your bun.
Well, all right. You know, the way we do it here, verbal intercourse, we just jump into it.
Verbal intercourse?
Verbal intercourse. A la Nas, Raekwon, and Nas, Ray, and Ghost back in the day. So they wouldn't let me name a book that a while back. So I took the title. I'm keeping it here.
You just got to say VI. You got to say VI, man. You know. Give it to
It's VI on the folder. It'll be VI on the logo. It'll be VI on everything else. But all right. I mean, my first question is a real basic one, man. You guys have been married. You've been married for a long time. You got 6 kids. Most folks ain't got 6 kids. You know.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the misconceptions that single humans have about marriage and family and raising kids?
The misconceptions?
Misconceptions.
I don't know if I can take that one, baby, right off the cusp.
I think the misconceptions about it are typically just lack nuance. I think sometimes people who don't have children or who are single have perceptions that are just fair based on where they're sitting in the room. And I think based on where they're sitting in the room, it makes sense. All the conclusions they come up with about what it's like to raise children and be in a relationship with someone, it makes sense that they would believe and see that from the position where they are. But it just lacks nuance and context, and the type of nuance and context that would only come from having to do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of just like life. I mean, it's just like it's what's handed to you, and it's how you work through it and work with it. And so every situation is unique. So in terms of people's misconceptions, it's all about what they make up in their mind of how they would see it or how they would react within it. And so that's why for me it's hard to initially answer that, because I'm not in everybody else's head now. Like what other people might misconstrue about our relationship or think about our relationship might be a different thing. Maybe that it looks easy, or maybe that it looks really difficult, when it's neither of the two, because it's just kind of like, it's a balance of it all. And so I don't know. I hope that's not too much random.
That's a good answer, because if nothing else, it contrasts the two of you in a very beautiful way. And my next question is sort of goes back to that. How did the two of you come together and meet, and how did you start making music?
Well, we met each other. I was, fresh off of coming from the West Coast. I was working on a solo album and dealing with a lot of the typical type of politics of the music industry in the late 90s. Album trying to get made, distribution, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I went to New York to work with the Roots because I liked their production style. And when I got there, one of the first songwriters that they introduced me to was this guy here. And, you know, we wrote and talked and we clicked and we stayed in touch. And, you know, I like to say he harassed me for several months, calling me at inappropriate times in the morning and evening. And so I enjoyed that, however inappropriate it was. And we and we kind of, you know, fast forwarded through an 8-month relationship. And he's like, "Do you want to get married on Saturday?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do that." And then 4 months after that, we got married. Okay. And then a year after that, we started the group because, you know, we tried to live like civilians and it just didn't work out. Like, he got a job and it was whack and he lost it. And we were just like, we're artists. What are we doing? We're trying to pretend. You weren't whack. The job was whack, but you were awesome. Like, he was like salesman of the month, like multiple times. He was awesome.
So what was this place where you were working?
Huh?
What was the place where you were working? What were you selling?
It was an appliance store and location that's no longer in existence, so there's no need to give them mad love, so people won't go reach it out. But you could probably find out. But yeah, they are no longer in business. Appliance, kind of like Best Buys and Targets of the day, you know. But it was cool, you know. It provided what we needed at that time, and that's what we were interested in, and was the security in a sense of, hey, we trying to raise a family, we trying to have a relationship, we want to be responsible, we want to be adults, we want to do this thing the way that the template has told us, you know, get the picket fence, get the house. You know, we've been doing music for a long time and it didn't necessarily take off just yet. And so now we found each other and we about to have a kid. And what do people normally say? Get a real job. Like, you know, when things ain't working out, you trying to wait tables or stuff or whatever before you become an actor or a singer or whatever. So we were kind of in that transition. So, you know, but we had to make a choice in a sense, whether were we going to live that civilian lifestyle or chase the dream collectively or individually. And we chose to do it collectively.
The first time I saw y'all perform was a long time ago. You opened for Common SOBs, and I was there. Yeah, I know. Take it back, right? but now the funny thing is, knowing that I know United, that, you know, you and I went to school together, it was funny because the first thing that came across was how natural the two of you performed as a pair on stage. You know, I wasn't just in a rush to see Common. I was like, I don't know any of these songs. I would find out later that I know some of the folks you collaborate with, but I was like, this is really warm, you know, and it's really comfortable, and I feel like I'm watching a show that's made for folks like me. And that's a vibe that you've carried, you know, ever since then. I mean, you performed at all kinds of places, arenas, the skating rink thing in Atlanta that you did recently. What are some of the most memorable performances that you've had in your career thus far?
Well, I think I know the one he's gonna say, but we have a lot of them. This one always sticks out. Is that our first time ever going to Africa? We ended up on a show that had like this wild mix of artists on it, and in the lineup, we ended up in this big dome performing to all these people, and we went on right after Trina. And it was like she had did like a full-on lap dance or somebody, like, and like shouts to Trina, it was cool, but like she had done like a full-on like performance situation, and then we had to go on after that, and it was just like
from one dream to the next.
Well, it's like that was so memorable. It's like in the motherland, like we was just like it was. You know, it was just wild, but it was a great experience. Like one of the best experiences we've ever had performing internationally.
Like
we were in Africa.
That's which country were you in?
Oh, we were in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there for like 11 days. We performed like 4 times, and that was one of the shows.
I'll ask Fat this question, just the guy. Like, so what was it like knowing that you were coming after Trina? What's your thought process? Like, how do you follow that up to get the crowd hype after the lap dance, after everything else? Like, what was going through your head at that point?
Hey man, I enjoyed Trina's performance. I don't know about Adrian, but I wasn't really that mad at going on after Trina. It just was like, hey man, it was what it was. We got to see a cool show and then we went on. So it was just what it was. But no, just to be honest, I mean, it's just like we've been in those style of environments, though it wasn't to that extreme many times. Like as a performer, you understand and recognize that things won't always be ideal and you won't always be in the lineup where you feel completely, oh, this is the comfort spot. You know what I mean? So your job is really just to go out there and be yourself at all times and do your best. Just like you said, when you first saw us, you were watching us perform and you didn't know the music. And some of those people in Africa, or many of them, probably weren't familiar with the music. They might not have been familiar with some of the music Trina was performing because there it's a different style. So again, we just always try to be authentic, try to be ourselves, try to hone in on the moment and just do our best. That's what I remember about it.
One of the first things Aja mentioned was getting a deal in the music industry in the 90s, and how for younger folks who may be listening or watching, how would you break down the music industry in the 90s in comparison to how it is today?
Wowzers. I know Fatin has an answer to this. I'm making mine brief. The 90s, oh, wow. First of all, budgets, that's number one. Definitely is the budgets, the access to budgets. I think we just spent more money making records then. And so there was just an assumption that making records would take a longer time than it does now. So you had time. You didn't have to actually know how to do everybody's job in the 90s. So then now you got to know how to market. You got to know every part of the business now. Back then, you knew that if you had a right team of people, that people had this as an expertise. There was still room, obviously, for a lot of gatekeeping back then. And that was a downside to it, was that because artists weren't involved in every aspect of things, we got kept from a lot of things. So as we may have had access to budgets a lot on the beginning part of it, on the back end of it, we saw a lot of that money go out the front door, which is why we all had to hit the road. So those are the things that jump out at me,
I just say a lot less portals and outlets for artists to actually be visible and get their message out. And it was more controlled and mandated, of course, by the labels. And now we're just in the digital age of the Napster age with music, where we're all kind of figuring it out, and the labels are getting control and taking control. And behind the scenes, we don't really understand all of the different things that's happening with that. But it's just an interesting time because, it just allows for so many people to do something and put it out there. And in the 90s, that wasn't necessarily the case, even though you could independently just, release something, but you couldn't necessarily be like global with, waving your flag saying, hey, I'm out here, even though it's still hard to get people in there. If you do the right promotion, you do the marketing, you do the right different things, there are different ways to become exposed. And there are people who are more exposed than the people who are on labels and stuff right now. So it's just kind of a weird juxtaposition of the game in a sense. So it just makes it harder to get people to recognize the music, unless you have a real hold on your social platform and media and that's a difficult world because like she said, that's not what we became artists to do. Now we have to learn all these other different realms and jobs in order to be full package artists.
A lot of you consider, a lot of folks consider you guys to be offshoots or affiliates of the Soulquarian movement. When the Roots had their first breakthrough single, when Common did like Water for Chocolate and went gold, for the first time, what was considered to be earthy or conscious or different or however you want to describe music that wasn't at that time teetering on the edge of like a puffy infused R&B, which means, put the recycled beat behind you and, cue the G-string bikinis and make it work. You all, there was a sense of purpose or a sense of, or an image of camaraderie amongst all of you You know, what was that period like in Philly? You know, and with touring with the Roots, whether it was Jaguar, Jazzy Fat Nasties, all those folks, like what was that time like for you?
Can I address first? I'm so happy you asked this because it's like I mentioned the Soul Aquarians, and it's just kind of like Asia and myself more, but Asia as well, definitely. We are a part of the fabric of the Soul Aquarian organization, much like she said before it was titled the Soul Aquarians. I helped to bring together the individuals in certain ways, some of the pieces of what is now known as that tribe or that organization or that collective of those individuals, and watch those pieces start to formulate like Voltron in a sense over time, and then become something unique and something, a force to be reckoned with. But we're not necessarily associated with it only, but in some ways by default, because it's not like we're not in the pictures. We're not, when people think of Soul Aquarians, they probably don't necessarily think of Kindred. And it's not taking credit for them or what they've done in any way, shape, or form, because it's not that. But it's just like realizing and watching how everything came together. It's like, this is a culmination of years even before people started to become familiar with it. And it took so many different turns. And even the Philly soul scene. I mean, I was talking to people the other day, about John A. and the Jazzy Jeff Touch of Jazz and all of the different things that people came to know with chill and flowetry and music and all of that. But there was predated. It was stuff that was happening even before then. So it's just unique. And it was an interesting time during that time. And again, you could feel it in the air, so much creativity and so many different individuals around who had really special talents and gifts that were just like, man, these people, they're going to be somebody. And to see it now and to have watched and witnessed so much of that greatness, almost from it being put into the ground to now it being like trees or gigantic bushes and stuff. It's like watching your garden grow, and it's amazing.
Fast forward to now. This has been the last 12 months or so has been one of the hardest times for hospitality industry, for musicians, for what have you, because for a while at least, a lot of folks weren't able to tour. How did you find ways to survive during that time? And what were some of your strategies to get through it until you're able to get back on the road again?
I think in the very beginning, we were just kind of in shock a little bit. And so it took us a minute to even, we had to process it. So I think at first, everybody was like taken to the socials. And they were just like, okay, we're just going to just do shows on Instagram or, just perform for folks to get people's, energy back up. But for us, it took a second. Like, we're just like, well, this is all this is just weird. It's overload. Everybody's on the socials 24/7. It's like, it was just too much. And eventually we did do, stream a show, but then we had to kind of just regroup. So eventually what we did eventually was really just survive off the grace of God in a lot of ways, because some of the few gigs that we had over the summer that were streamed, when people immediately started to kind of shift into doing live streaming. So one of the elements that did help keep us afloat was that. A second thing that helped was, additional opportunities. I started co-hosting a podcast with Jill Scott and with Laia St. Clair from Questlove Supreme.
Yeah, all right. I went to high school with Laia, so.
Yeah, I know y'all Banneker babies. My God, today.
No, it's a story for another time, but yeah, that's the homie.
Look at you, man. You just connected in every way, Kenji.
Right. So started doing that. And then obviously, Fatin also too started DJing, and then we created a digital network. And we started working on trying to find a place to house all the content that we had been producing over the past 7, 8, 10 years. And realized that we were kind of headed in a direction that was making sense for the times. And we probably would not have even done that had we had the time to sit down and think about it. So, just the time that we spent, this year gave us an opportunity to work on projects that we hadn't worked on before. He produced a whole new show, a video show called Fire Videos. I started producing a documentary. We did a lot of work, actually, in retrospect, but we were slow to start. We just had to process the whole thing because it was just a lot. And we had our kids. All of our kids were home. So we had to manage their feelings and emotions and everything that they were going through, school, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, by the grace of God.
But we're still here.
Not true.
Right.
Indeed. Let me ask this sort of because I lost my train of thought. If Philadelphia were a living and breathing person, how would you describe them? Violent.
See, violent.
I
would say
he's one. I mean, that's for sure. He's one cookie. He's a very resilient man, very brave man. Or woman. You know.
And what part of town? What part of Philly are you from?
And it's not just tough in the physical sense. It's just like, you know, you have to be on your square. I mean, Philly is just
Philly is a hustle. You know, Philly is really a hustle. But it's a hustler with a heart. You know, it's a hustler with a heart of gold. You know what I'm saying? And Philly is a place where it will embrace you, but you got to be real. You can't be fake and phony here because people will pull your card. They're not there for that. They're not there for any of that. Philly is honest. It's straightforward. It's not a place that you got to figure out. It's a place that it is what it says it is. And that's good, bad, and ugly. You know what I mean? But full of potential, talent. It's a beautiful place. You know what I mean? But it's rough. It has a lot of politics, and I feel like Philly has. Oh gosh, you said if it was a person, so if Philly was a person, Philly would be some kind of mixture between, you know, between Alderman Davis.
I think it's the ultimate blue collar.
It's the ultimate blue collar work.
Yeah,
it's like some mixture between what's the guy in Coming to America, baby, that drops the mic? Was the sexual chocolate guy?
Oh, Randy Watson.
Reverend.
It's like Randy Watson and Alderman Davis and
Don't you use that. Because he is trying to say something that's not cool.
I don't know. Philly people gonna be mad at me, man. I love Philly though.
Stuff, man.
I love Philly though. You gotta be on your square. He ain't lying. You can't be walking straight and not paying attention to your surroundings because you know it has a story to tell. But the resilience of the people here, and particularly the Black people here, and I'm gonna say this too. If you really, I don't even know if the type of organizing that happens in Philly too. So I just want to say that too. The organizers here, oh my gosh, the work in terms of like Black liberation in Philly, oh my God, it's like amazing. So I don't know. We did a bad job at that, or at least I think I did, but music, politics, hustling, hard work, food, love, realness, Philly.
Well, I said it like that because you know you've obviously Philly has been your hub and your home base, and your house and your kids are there. Last year, I think it was 2020. You created what could arguably be, you know, the ultimate snapshot of Black Lives Matter when your video went viral. You know, and talk a little about the video I'm talking about where you featured all your children and all their energy, and you know, hug them. Just tell me, talk about how that came together because it was the most heartwarming thing. I was like, yo, that shit is dope. Like, I'm so happy to see that.
Like all viral, probably usually when it happens the right way is just kind of like organically, by accident, not necessarily with some sort of plan or intention. I don't believe. I mean, Aja can speak to it, of course, because she was the one who really initiated it more or less. But that's what I really say, that I don't really think that it was like calculated.
Did you shoot it? Did you film it?
Who shot? Baby, did I shoot it?
No, we just set it up on the table.
All right.
And the kids, when the kids know how to set up the TikTok, they like, baby, you call the children in the room. Help mama set up the TikTok. So they put the thing up.
I was in it, right? Yeah.
No, you actually were the one who said we were having, it was either the day after Thanksgiving or it was either Thanksgiving Day, and we was all together. And I was like, let's do a family TikTok. And you said, hey, see if our song is on TikTok. Because at that time we had just dropped the single. And Fatin said, oh, see if our song's on there. So the kids looked up our
like challenge or something like that.
You should say what, baby?
Was that already a challenge or something like that? And then we just used it? Or no,
it wasn't. We were just going to do something together. And you were like, see if our song's on there. And the kids pulled up our single and it was on there as an option. And then I said, well, why don't each one of y'all come in here and we'll just hug and dance or do something. And then the kids came in, we just did it. I don't even remember if we even took time to think about what we were doing. We just did it. I said, each one of y'all come in here and post and love up on me. And then when I posted it, it just went bananas. I mean, it ended up on pages that I just would have never seen it. And it's like my mentions were going out of the, it got shared like, I don't know, like 50,000 times. Like it was really, really wild. And so just when you're not trying, that's how when that stuff happens, when you just being yourself and the kids are just, allowing you and giving you that room to just be silly and be a part of your world. And my kids, they're fun and we have fun together. And I felt like that was a real depiction of how we.
And how old are your kids? How old are your kids now?
Our oldest is 22.
Yeah.
Then after that, 19. And then 16. Well, she'll be 17 in another month or so. What'd you say, Mike?
2, 13, and 11.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Given that you guys have been together so long for over 20 years, what are some of your pet peeves about working with each other or dealing with each other? And how do you get past those things? And I'll preclude this by saying that during the pandemic, a lot of marriages have really learned what they were made of, one way or the other. Folks who you might have only seen 4 or 5 hours a day, now you in the house with all the time, and it's like, damn, you an asshole, or yo, you don't work well in this situation, or whatever it is. What's that go? I mean, you guys have been on the road with each other. You guys are with each other all the time. How do you deal with each other, and what are some of your pet peeves about each other?
Well, how most couples deal with each other, we argue, we have to hash it out, still. But the good thing about the pandemic is that we already knew one another and knew what we liked about each other and didn't like about each other before that time. So I don't think that we had to really discover or learn that we didn't like each other too much because we had more time to spend around each other. Now, the difficulties of not being able to work or maintain, take care of the different responsibilities that we knew we had outside of, our responsibilities to one another in our relationship, that was a little bit more tricky. So like, our pet peeves with one another, I think that, patience, I'm sure, is one for my wife with me, is my patience and temper and, maintaining the balance of, staying focused and not letting things take me off of my square. And she's always there to pull my coat and, be a sounding board and a support system to try to reel me back in, as good wives usually are, because most husbands probably find themselves in some of that, if not, most of it. But, my pet peeve with her is just that, Aja is like extremely social, and I'm more of an introvert, which is kind of funny when it comes to our lifestyle and what we've chosen to do for a living. But, that can rear its ugly heads at different times with just the balance of, you know, when do you turn off being social and when is it time for just us? Or, you know, and so we go a little bit back and forth with that. But I think that over the years and over time that it has just kind of become like, this is you and this is me. And we kind of give each other space to be, much like right now, I'm at the office and Aja's at the house. You know what I mean? And I'm taking care of this and she's taking care of that. And so we give each other the space in the room to be and to do and try not to get in each other's way and just come together and do what we need to do together too. I hope that.
Yeah, I think I also feel like our biggest pet peeve is usually just the things that, you know, certain things come natural to him and some things come natural to me. Trying to get the other person to engage in the things that come natural to you, that is always the thing that we struggle with. And because both our personal life and our professional life requires so much energy, we both get drained in different ways. So like one of our big issues with each other is always like, how much are you present in this thing that I'm doing the most? So if I'm doing a lot of, you know, interacting with, you know, constantly with talking to kids, my husband calls my room the office because he was like, the kids just come in all day, circulating. And so, and he has like an office, and that's all his doing. His phone is going off all day with work. So I think for both of us, trying to get each other to engage in those spaces so that each of us doesn't get burnt out, that's still a challenge. That's a challenge that I feel like we'll probably have at least for another 10 years, just because our youngest kid is 11. So always trying to kind of maintain that part of the balance is hard because you're utilizing your partnership, but it has to, you still have to kind of bring the other person in on those things because everybody's not always going to be double present.
Though I don't have kids myself, I mean, I know that having a child is in so many different ways forcing yourself to always deal with different versions of the present and also looking forward at the future. And when it comes to relationships between human beings, how are you seeing, you know, through your children, Generation Z and beyond, dealing with each other in terms of love? I don't know if any of your children create, but what's your take on the current generation, future generations? How do they differ from Gen X where we are? And what are your hopes for them?
Well, they taking way less shit. That's for sure. Particularly the young women. You know, they just not, they're just built different. But one thing about our kids that I noticed is that one of the challenges for this group is when they are emotionally mature, like if they come from a household where people really love them, they actually have a hard time in the world, truth be told. It's like sometimes they don't really fit in. Our kids have all complained when it comes to love and friendship or intimacy, because not even just, you know, relationships, but just in their friendships and stuff like that. Sometimes they come in with a certain emotional intelligence that the other people don't understand. And they have to either dumb themselves down or come across as the person or talk, and people just don't understand where they're coming from, you know, and they're just dealing with the kind of situation where I think they'll deal with the greatest challenge in front of them is kids who have been very loved and young people who haven't. And I think that's going to really kind of clash with that group, kind of bringing people along into a more kind of evolved space. But they, you know, I think that these kids had, you know, Gen X parents who got taken to museums and, you know they Black history facts. And, and those things make a difference when they get out into the world. So I think they actually have a heads up, but I do think that they'll have issues sometimes with that. But I don't, you know,
I think that we come from a generation of where it used to be children should be seen and not heard, and this is a man's world kind of thing. And now things have definitely evolved and changed. That speaks to what AJ was saying about they not taking no shit no more. And, you know, children are way more vocal and parenting is a lot different. So, you know, definitely the outcome of how the generation will be perceived and how they will react is going to be different. You know, you talking about the Black history, there's a lot more things suppressed, even though information is widely more readily available. There's a lot more, you got to search for it. And then there's nobody necessarily pointing you to it. So it's just a lot of misdirected and not connecting. You know, we're not as connected to the generation before us. You know, this generation isn't as we probably were then. You know, now they're making their own lane and everything is kind of feel like, you know, tailor-made and do it yourself and all those different things. So I just think that we in a weird space, but also a unique space. And, you know, people are getting a chance to kind of make their own choices and make their own ways and dismantle certain traditions that might have been unhealthy or toxic, you know, one of the, you know, popular words. And, you know, hopefully we at a good space, but it's kind of hard to tell because it's different.
Switching gears again. Top 5. What are your top 5 albums of all time?
Yeah, so I saw that. I saw this question and I struggled with it.
That's why you had it in advance.
No,
I did.
You only sent me that in like 2 minutes before. So
I sent it to him literally 20 minutes before. But so forgive me. But this one I struggle with, but not because I struggle with it because for me there just isn't an ultimate all-time top 5. It's just
right.
Like
very moment that you're thinking about it when he's asking, that's when you got to just come with it because right. You know.
So I just went with what came off, like what came off the top of my head. So it was Donny Hathaway, Off the Wall, Aretha Franklin, Young, Gifted, and Black, Songs in the Key of Life, and then I had to throw some hip hop in there. And so for me, I just threw in Tribe Called Quest because I just feel like I'm just going to throw their whole catalog in there.
Very good idea. Very good idea.
Okay. How about you, babe?
Probably Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. Definitely Songs in the Key of Life. What's Going On, Marvin. Rapture, maybe by Anita Baker. It's another really classic.